Good morning, church.
Good morning.
We're having a little bit of a mic issue if you hear that, but we're going to ignore it and we're going to muscle through it. Y'all okay with that?
Yes.
What I love about Jesus, part 4, but before I get into it, I've got quite a bit to say. We got a lot to do today, so I got to get to the real important stuff. Do y'all eat breakfast before y'all come to church on Sunday mornings? Okay, see, y'all do. Okay, good. I just wanted to do a quick poll real quick, just because I'm curious about the audience, you know. Real quick, if you like to get up on Sunday mornings and cook a big breakfast, raise your hands. A little poll. Nobody does that? Okay, this the Alexander family does. The rest of you, raise your hands if you're kind of eating on the run, just grabbing something and going. Okay? Raise your hand if you're just waiting to get here and eat a donut. So we need to get our order right. This is a good way. I was just curious. I'm a big breakfast guy. That's my meal. That's my favorite meal of the day. I love to eat a big breakfast. It's probably my mom's fault because my mom kind of instilled that in me when I was growing up. My absolute favorite breakfast meal is as follows, in case anybody really loves me and wants to bless me one day. Anyway, this is it. It is gravy biscuits, 1 or 2 is fine, a couple of sausage patties, a couple of over medium eggs, a side of hash browns with a little ketchup and hot sauce, and you just, Texas Pete's fine, and you just mix it all together. That is, let me tell you something, that is the best breakfast that there's ever been. A bunch of people are grossed out. Is it that bad? That's what I eat. You can literally feel your risk of heart disease going up every time you eat it. But I want to tell you something, it's absolutely delicious. I call that breakfast meal, I call it a Jack Mix. A Jack Mix. You want to know why? It's named after the man that I saw eat it when I was growing up. His name was Jack Gill, and he was my adopted grandfather, and this is him right here. So, do you know what an adopted grandfather is, or at least what we call that? So, I have another grandfather who's Jack also, not to be confused with this Jack. So, when I was growing up, elementary school through middle school, on into high school, I eat big breakfast every morning at Mountain View Restaurant right across from Walhalla Middle, Walhalla High School, the old Walhalla High School. And there was a restaurant there, and we would go eat breakfast, and Jack ate there every single morning. Every morning. I'm talking, listen, y'all think I'm exaggerating. He ate there every single morning. And Jack was a retired Navy sailor. He was a widower. He lived completely alone here in the upstate. Didn't really know a lot of people. And I'll never forget, like, that first morning that we went in there to eat a big breakfast, as usual, and my mom, instead of just sitting with me and my sister, my mom went over and sat at the community table. Do y'all know what the community table is? That's where the old men who are alone converge. And they sit and they solve every problem the world has ever known. Yeah, they do. That's what they do. And Jack was at this table. And I don't know how it happened, but either we adopted him or he adopted us. And it wasn't just a short amount of time that Jack became a member of our family. Literally, we would go and eat breakfast with him every morning, and then I remember, like, we started inviting him to go out to eat with us at dinner. The next thing you know, he's coming to the birthday parties, he's at the Thanksgivings, he's at the Christmas. I'm not kidding. My entire childhood included Jack Gill. And so we just remember him, and I was thinking about him a lot this week. I tell you, we got so close to even, like, through middle school, Jack picked me up from school. I'm not kidding, a lot, because my mom and dad were super busy, and so Jack would pick me up a lot, and he drove the longest white Lincoln town car you've ever seen, like Boss Hogg's car without the horns. It was the most uncool limousine you've ever seen. That's what it was. And in order to make matters worse, he always had the windows rolled down because he smoked, and he was always blasting Marty Robbins when he picked me up, blasting it. Y'all familiar with Marty Robbins? Some of you probably aren't. I see some of the young faces. Let's just play a little clip real quick so you guys can hear Marty Robbins real quick.
To the town of our free rode a stranger one fine day.
This is what, listen. That's enough.
Hardly
Listen.
spoke to folk.
That's enough. All right, listen. You got people on the button back here. Come on now. As if the Wrangler blue jeans and the belt buckle wasn't enough to seal my fate in middle school, old Jack in the white Lincoln playing Marty Robbins picking me up, my popularity was kaput. It just is where it was. I thought about him a lot this week. And it's funny because I hadn't thought about him in a long time. He died in 2004, right after I graduated high school. I hadn't thought about him a lot, but I thought about him a lot this week. And You know, I consider it an honor to look back and to have made him a friend of him, an adopted grandfather, to have had him in my life. And every once in a while, I still turn on El Paso by Marty Robbins to harass my children, Rhonda. But this is the thought that just kept circling my mind all week. Sometimes the simplest conversation can become a life-changing relationship. Because that's what happened with us. I want to tell you a Bible story today in order to tell you the fourth thing I love about Jesus. Y'all good with me doing that? Yes. And it's kind of like this. We're going to read in John chapter 4 today, and we're going to pick up, it's early in Jesus' ministry, and even though it's really like his first trip to Judea, he has been teaching in Judea, and he's having to leave. Word's getting around to the Pharisees are starting to murmur, they're starting to make plans, and so Jesus says, hey guys, time to pull up stakes. We're going to go back to our home grounds in Galilee, and I'm going to be teaching there. I'll start teaching there. And this is the verse that kind of is a key verse for us. In verse 4, this is what it said. He had to go through Samaria on the way. So I looked it up and I said, well, he had to go through Samaria. Why did Jesus have to go through Samaria? It turns out if you look up in the maps, in the historical maps, what you will find is there's actually two ways from Judea to Galilee. And just one of the ways went through Samaria. The way that went through Samaria was the quickest. The other way was the way that most Jews went most of the time. Most of the time, all Jewish people would go around Samaria. Matter of fact, it reads like this when you read about it in history. It was a self-respecting Jew, any Jew that was decent, righteous, honorable, would not be caught dead hanging out in Samaria. Do you know why? Was it crime? No. Sewage? Mm-mm. Pyramid schemes? No way. Samaritans. The Jews did not mingle with Samaritans. But today I need to explain to you why, because I think it's so important that you understand who these Samaritans were and why the Jews did not want to cohabitate with them, didn't want to be around them. So for that you have to go back several hundred years, and the Jews had been exiled to Babylon. And so the Jews had been exiled to Babylon, and when they finally were able to return to their promised land, to their home there around Jerusalem, they found that parts of their region were inhabited by another group of people. Anybody want to guess who? The Samaritans. And over that long period of time, those hundreds of years that they were exiled, these Samaritans were actually people who were Jews who were not exiled, but had since mingled with other people groups, allowed foreign blood to be in their family, and they're a mixture of a group of people that they call themselves the Samaritans. To put it simply, their mixed background, that foreign blood, it created a barrier in their relationship with the Jews, and the Jews looked at them like less than people. The Samaritans also had a mixed up version of the same religion. They had different beliefs and different things that they had started to do in their time that they were separated from one another. So they had a different viewpoints on certain things. One of the main points of conflict between the Jews and the Samaritans was this, though. It was where you could worship. And this is important for our story today. Everybody still with me? It was about where you could worship. The Samaritans believed that you worshipped on a mountain called Gerizim. I always want to say it Gerizim. And I'm not even sure I've got it right yet. But that's what it was, Mount Gerizim, near Shechem. And the Jews believed that you had to worship on Mount Zion, which was in Jerusalem. And they argued about this constantly. And the Jews basically said, you're not worshiping God. You're not worshiping like you're supposed to worship. You're breaking His rules because you're worshiping on that mountain over there. And the Samaritans say, well, we don't want to worship on that mountain because we worship on this mountain. This is where we've always done it. So they argued about this. And it wasn't nice. They hated each other for this. You understand that? This wasn't like just to ease tensions where they just kind of ignored each other. They hated this about one another. In verse 5, this is what it says. Back to our story. So Jesus is headed to Samaria, which is highly unusual. I'm sure His disciples had something to say about it, and this is what it said. Eventually he came to the Samaritan village of Sychar, near the field that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there, and Jesus, tired from a long walk, sat wearily beside the well about noontime. Now you got to be wondering, Jesus is headed to Samaria. Now he's sitting down next to a well. He's tired. Why did he have to go to Samaria? I believe that he had to go to Samaria because he had an appointment. He had somebody he was wanting to meet. He had somebody he wanted to talk to. And apparently, the reason he's sitting down next to this well and he's taking a little break, in verse 8, we're told that he sends the disciples on is Jesus is waiting for somebody. Verse 7, it says, soon a Samaritan woman came to draw water, and Jesus said to her, please give me a drink. You see that? Please give me a drink. Now that should catch you as at least strange, right? That's unusual. And I was actually going to say when I got this part in the message the other day, I was writing, just writing ideas and stuff down. I was like, we wouldn't consider this weird, in our day and age for a man just to ask a woman, for something or whatever. But yeah, you would. That's still a little weird, right? I mean, you're just going to speak to a stranger and be like, hey, take your bucket and your rope and lower down and get me. We just don't do that even with just normal strangers. It wasn't just strange in Jesus' day, though. It was impermissible in Jesus' day. A man wouldn't talk to a woman in public in this way. A Jew wouldn't talk to a Samaritan, let alone ask a Samaritan for help. A Jewish teacher, a religious Jew, appearingly at least, a rabbi, would never speak to a woman like this, never speak to a Samaritan woman, never speak to a woman who's probably of her type of reputation. Now you say, what Tim, how can you just assume her reputation? Well, we're going to find out in a minute in the story, but there's something that we can tell just by when she's at the well. You see, this woman is at the well at noontime, and this was highly unusual. The only people that came to the well in the middle of the day were the outcast, because that's when they knew they could go to the well and no one would harass them, and they wouldn't bother all the good people. Most of the time, women went to the well early in the morning and they got the water that they needed for the day and they went home. But women of ill repute, women with bad reputations, women that the other women of the town looked down upon, they didn't go to the well in the mornings. They waited until there was nobody there and got there. So that's who Jesus is talking to. Jesus decides to speak to her. Verse 9 says, the woman was surprised. For Jews refused to have anything to do with the Samaritans. That's what we said, right? Everybody good? She said to Jesus, you are a Jew and I'm a Samaritan woman. Why are you asking me for a drink? She's recognizing the unusualness, the inappropriateness of this conversation. In verse 10, I'm going to read this, guys. It's going to be a little different than normal reading it. Verse 10, Jesus replied, if you only knew the gift God has for you and who you are speaking to, you would ask me and I would give you living water. Now this has got to catch you off guard. Jesus is speaking to the Samaritan woman. He's not just asking her for a drink of water. He was instigating a conversation. He had a question. He had something he wanted to tell her. He's alluding to who he is, right? He's saying, I have something you need. I have something you need. In verse 11, she said, but sir, you don't have a rope or a bucket. And she said, the well is very deep. What's she talking about? Water. I just want to make sure y'all get how dense we are. I just want to make sure you understand. She's talking about water. Where would you get this living water? And besides, do you think you're greater than our ancestor Jacob who gave us this well? She starts talking about the history. We got, who dug this well and our ancestors that we're so proud of to have this water. How can you offer better water than he and his sons and his animals enjoyed? What's she talking about? Just want to make sure we understand. Okay, guys, good. Jesus replied, anyone who drinks this water, speaking of the water in the well, will soon grow thirsty. Will soon become thirsty again. But those who drink the water I give will never be thirsty again. It becomes a fresh, bubbling spring within them, giving them eternal life. Please, sir, the woman said, give me this water. Then I'll never be thirsty again, and I won't have to come here to get water anymore. What is she talking about, just so we're clear? Water. Okay, good. She's talking about water. She's not quite getting it, right? Jesus decides it needs to get more personal, and this is what he says. Go and get your husband, Jesus told her. I don't have a husband, the woman replied. Jesus said, you're right. You don't have a husband. And you have had 5 husbands, and you aren't even married to the man you're living with now. You certainly spoke the truth. You see what Jesus did right here? I want to say it to you like this. Jesus addresses her sin. Jesus addresses her pain. Jesus addresses the fault that everybody else sees in her. Jesus addresses the guilt that she carries around and the shame that she feels about her life. Do you see that? By saying what he knew about her, saying, I know everything about you. He addresses all of those things. He shows her the power that he has, the ability that he has. Shows her who he in fact is. Verse 19, she served the woman and said, you must be a prophet. She recognizes there's something divine about you. You must be a prophet. Then verse 20, this is always kind of thrown us off a little bit, I think. So tell me, why is it that you Jews, I'm sorry. Why is it that you Jews insist that Jerusalem is the only place of worship, while we Samaritans claim it is here at Mount Gerizim, where our ancestors worshipped? This almost seems like a deflection, right? Seems like she's trying to change the subject. And I think I used to see it like that, like this woman was trying to change the subject. She was trying to make this a religious conversation. You know, you're a prophet, so let's talk about this. But I think I really began to understand it this recently. I think this is what she's saying. Okay, so you know my sin. You know my shame. You know my guilt. You know my pain. You know what you know me. What am I supposed to do about it? Because according to you, since you're a Jew, I can't even go and worship where you worship. You see? A little history help. According to you, I can't go and worship where you. And apparently, where we worship and where I should be, where I think we're supposed to worship, it's not good enough. So what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to make this right? Jesus replied, believe me, dear woman, the time is coming when it will no longer matter whether you worship the Father on this mountain or in Jerusalem. Verse 23 says, but the time is coming indeed, it's here now, when true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. The Father is looking for those who will worship Him that way. The woman said, let me pause, sorry. You know what he's saying? There's a time coming where it won't matter if you're on this mountain or you're on that mountain. What will matter is what you believe in your heart and what you say in your heart. What will matter is what's happening in your spirit inside of you. That's what will matter. I think these words move the Samaritan woman. I think she's moved by that. And this is what it said. The woman said, I know the Messiah is coming, the one who is called Christ. And when He comes, He will explain everything to us. I think she was a little bit, she thinks she likes what He's saying, but maybe she doesn't understand everything that He's saying. And so this is what she's saying. She's saying one day the Messiah is coming. He's going to sort all this out. The differences in the Samaritans and the Jews. The differences in me and my people and you and your people and everything. Messiah is going to come. He's going to sort all this stuff out. And He's going to tell us what we're supposed to do. And then Jesus told her, and I'm telling you, this should be a bombshell to you. This should be an absolute atomic bomb to you. Jesus told her, I am the Messiah. He didn't do that a lot. When you go read, He just didn't do that a lot. He didn't just go, I am Him. That's who I am. As clear as that. I think it floored her. I think she realized what was happening. I think everything He said previous to that flooded through her mind, and she's thinking, that's what He was talking about the whole time. That's what He was trying to tell me the whole time. Verse 27, just then His disciples came back. They were shocked to find Him talking to a woman. Shocked. They didn't like it. Let's just be honest. But none of them had the nerve to ask. You know what it means? They were scared to death to say anything. That's what that means. They knew better, Al. What do you want with her? Or why are you talking to her? This is my favorite verse. Verse 28. It's important for today. Everybody reading with me? Say you got it. Ready? The woman left her water jar beside the well and ran back to the village telling everyone, "Come and see a man who told me everything I ever did." Could he possibly be the Messiah? So the people came streaming from the village to see him. A weight was lifted off of this woman. You see this? This woman who was avoiding everybody, all of a sudden she's running to people to tell them, "I went to the well at midday like I'm supposed to, and I met a man, and he's the Messiah. You got to come meet him. He told me everything I ever did." And I don't think that's where she finished. I think she said, "He helped me." Because she knew the Messiah was willing to meet me at a well, was willing to talk to me, address me, a Samaritan woman, a sinner. I want to do something different today. There's a lot to love about Jesus in this story, isn't there? And I'm not sure that you caught my point that I'm going to share, but before I share it with you today, I really want you to see it. So I told you the story and I went through some background because I wanted to make sure that you understood everything, but I want you to really see this story unfold the best we could depict. There's a series called The Chosen, which I believe does an excellent job with the story. Holds close to the Scriptures. They take some liberties as far as developing the characters. We don't know, but I'm telling you, they do an incredible job of holding the Scriptures. So I want you to have an opportunity to watch this story today. So we're going to take a few minutes and we're going to watch it. Will y'all do that for me? Let's do it.
We ate the last of Salome's bread last night. Master, we need to go into town for food.
We can use the gold left for us at the fountain.
Very well.
There's a town about a mile west. Sikar.
You all go. I'll wait here.
Someone should stay with you. In case.
I'm all right. Meet me at that well when you come back. Would you give me a drink? Did you hear me?
That's bad, huh?
What?
You, a Jew, ask for a drink from me, a Samaritan, and a woman.
I'm sorry. I should have said please.
You know, it's not safe for you to be alone out here.
Nor you. Why haven't you come with others? Why so late in the day? Don't women come to the wells in the cool of the morning?
Yeah, well, none of them will be seen with me, so I have to come at noon. in the heat, as you have so kindly reminded me.
Why won't they be seen with you?
Long story.
I'd still like a drink of water if you can spare it.
Amazing what a parched throat will do. Aren't I unclean to you? Won't you be defiled by this vessel?
Maybe some of my people say that about your women, but I don't.
Yeah? And what do you say?
I say if you knew who I am, you'd be asking me for a drink.
Really?
And I would give you living water.
Would. Except that you have nothing to draw water with, and this is a deep well. Besides, what do you need from me if you have your own supply of living water?
Long story.
But Jewish water is better than Samaritan water.
That's not what I
Are
said.
you a better man than our ancestor Jacob, who dug this well? Your water is better than his?
I know Jacob. And everyone who drinks this water will thirst again. But whoever drinks the water that I give him will never be thirsty again.
Wouldn't that be nice?
The water I give will become in a person a spring of water welling up to eternal life.
Really?
Yes, really.
Prove it.
First, go and call your husband and come back. I will show you both.
I don't have a husband.
You are right. You've had 5 husbands. And the man you're living with now is not your husband.
Oh, I see. You're a prophet. You're here to preach at me.
No.
Usually the one good thing about coming here alone is I can escape being condemned.
I'm not here to condemn you.
I've made mistakes. Too many. But it's men like you who have made it impossible for me to do anything about it.
How?
Our ancestors worshipped on this mountain. But you Jews insist Jerusalem is the only place for true worship.
They say that because the temple is there.
Exactly where we're not allowed.
I'm here to break those barriers. And the time is coming when neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem will you worship the Father.
So, where am I supposed to go when I need God? I've never received anything from God, but I couldn't thank him even if I did.
Anywhere. God is spirit. And the time is coming and is now here that it won't matter where you worship, but only that you do it in spirit and truth. Heart and mind, that is the kind of worshiper he's looking for. It won't matter where you're from or what you've done. Do you believe what I'm telling you?
Until the Messiah comes and explains everything and sorts this mess out, including me, I don't trust in anyone.
You're wrong when you say that you've never received anything from God. This Messiah you speak of, I am he. The first one was named Ramin. You were a woman of purity who was excited to be married. But he wasn't a good man. He hurt you. And it made you question marriage and even the practice of your faith.
Stop it.
The second was Farzad. On your wedding night, his skin smelled like oranges. And to this day, every time you pass by the oranges in the market, you feel guilty for leaving him. Because he was the only truly godly man you've been with. But you felt unworthy.
Why are you doing this?
I have not revealed myself to the public as the Messiah. You are the first. It would be good if you believed me.
You picked the wrong person.
I came to Samaria just to meet you. Do you think it's an accident that I'm here in the middle of the day?
I am rejected by others.
I know. But not by the Messiah.
And you know these things because you are the Christ. I'm going to tell everyone.
I was counting on it.
Spirit and truth.
Spirit and truth.
It won't be all about mountains or temples.
Soon, just the heart.
You promise.
I promise.
This man told me everything I've done. Oh, he must be the Christ.
Hey, wait!
You what there?
You forgot your,
Fancy you, man! You told me everything I ever did!
Did you catch it? Sorry. When I thought about what I wanted to tell you I loved about Jesus, I knew I wanted to teach a story. I want to show you the story. The thing I couldn't help, the thing that always draws me to it, is when she leaves her water jar. It was such a symbol for her of her exile from people, of her sin, having to go there every day. When she leaves her bucket, she leaves her water jar because she found something better, which is the point I want to make today. Jesus will help you find what you're not looking for. Last week I told you that Jesus will help you find what you're looking for. And I told you the story of Nicodemus. And Nicodemus came looking to talk to Jesus, and he came for answers, and he came to talk to God because he wanted to know God. He wanted to know everything that Jesus knew about God. This woman came to get a jar of water. And she found something so much better. And I cannot tell you how often I have experienced that in my life and in my relationship with Jesus. The woman at the well, she came to get water. She expected to fill a basic need. It was just a normal, mundane day in her life. She didn't expect someone to speak to her, treat her kindly. She didn't expect for anything out of the ordinary. I'm sorry, guys. She did not expect to meet the Messiah. And when he spoke to her and the way he spoke to her, all of that guilt and all that shame that the world had placed on her and that she had placed on herself, it melted away because she realized that he was willing to be there with her. He was willing to talk to her. And he let her in on unbelievable truths. Jesus will help you find what you're not looking for. And I cannot tell you how many times I've been walking in this world and all of a sudden, just living my life, and Jesus has done something for me. He's made me feel loved when I wasn't looking for it, and I didn't think I deserved it. He's filled me with forgiveness when I wasn't trying to forgive, and I didn't think that I was capable of it. He has shown me grace over and over and over again when I didn't think it was an option for me. That is what I love about Jesus. And that's the Jesus we serve. Is a Jesus that will help you find what you're not looking for because he loves you that much. So here's my encouragement to you. Don't be surprised. Be thankful. Don't be surprised when, if you're following him and you're living in a relationship with him, when he shows up and just does something for you the way only Jesus can. That's what I love about him. And I hope you get to experience that. I hope you do experience that over and over and over again. A Christ so loving and so merciful, and so full of grace that he will show it to you when you're not looking for it and when you least expect it. That's what I pray. Let me pray for you. Father, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for each and every person that's here today. And I want to thank you for this incredible story. I love teaching this story. It's one of my favorites. I'll go back to it a lot. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for all the times that we're not looking for the answers. And we're not looking for you. And we're not looking for grace. And we're not looking for peace. And we're not looking for love. We're just trying to live our life. We're just trying to get through one day to the next. We're just trying to muscle through, like I said earlier. And you just show up. And you just give it to us. You give us the answers that we weren't looking for. You give us the peace we didn't think we needed. You show us the love we don't deserve. I'm thankful for that about you and about your son. I'm thankful. I want to see it every time it happens in my life. I don't want to miss it. I don't want to just glaze over it. I don't want to just be moving so fast and be so busy that I don't see it. I want us as a church to recognize when that's happening, when we're getting something that we weren't asking for, when we're getting something that we didn't deserve. I want us to see that. And I want us to be thankful. And much like we saw her do when her first instinct was, I must tell everybody what I just got. I pray that will be our first instinct as well when we see that you've helped us find something we weren't looking for, is that we have to tell others how good you are. That's what I pray. I thank you for this church. I thank you for the baptisms today. I want to say this. I'm thankful for that show. I think it does an incredible job. I pray that you continue to allow it to do that and you continue to guide it. Father, help us to love one another and help one another along the way. In Jesus' name, everybody says, Amen. Thank you so much for being here today. I love you. Have a great week.